Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-986-2504. That's 1-800-986-2504. Or you can go to getHDaviators.com. So don't delay. Call 1-800-986-2504 or order online today. 1-800-986-2504.
Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so my favorite college professor, Ed Renwick of Loyola University, once lectured in our American government's class, politics is really boring when it's working right, but it's nothing but bureaucracy in that case. He said what makes it interesting is politicians and when politics is not working smoothly. Well, luckily, as all of you know, we live in very interesting times, and tonight I am bookended once again by our political brain trust, Joseph Perkins and Jon Elliott. Nice to see you all.
Hi, Mark.
Okay, lots of stuff going on. Let's begin with Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington, meeting first with the president and with Congress. Interesting today because he said that he is willing to, and in fact he said he vowed, to make painful compromises to achieve historical peace in the Middle East, which is different from what we've heard in the past, including when he was in the White House, when he got a bit in the president's face about his policies. Joseph.
Well, he is willing to make certain compromises, but what's beyond the compromise is what the president suggested, and that is returning Israel's borders to where it was pre-1967. That's not going to happen. But, I mean, I think that Mr. Netanyahu made the point that really is the linchpin to getting some peace in that region of the world, and that is in exchange for a Palestinian homeland, that the Palestinians acknowledge Israel's right, the Jewish state's right to exist.
Which Hamas in the past certainly has not done.
President Abbas hasn't said as much as well. So.
John.
It really wasn't a big surprise to me that he came up with the 1967 borders, because that's really been the American position all the way along. It just hasn't been articulated during the Bush administration. It's pretty much been established. He did come out strong with it. It upset the Israelis. Netanyahu did, as Joseph mentioned, get in his face. And then Obama came out again when he met AIPAC on Sunday and reiterated the same thing. He didn't back down. He said it very strongly. And we noticed a little bit more conciliatory approach from Netanyahu today, where he wasn't as strong as he was over the weekend. And I have some contacts inside the Israeli embassy, and they know they are going to have to surrender some of the settlements. They absolutely know there's no peace, no lasting peace, no forever peace without surrendering some of the settlements.
I think a lot of people, though, are skeptical that that will ever happen, because every time they start to get close to any sort of an agreement, there will be violence on both sides, and then it never ends up happening. And you also have George Mitchell, mediator, resigning recently.
Well, that's a big blow, because he put peace together in Northern Ireland, which is amazing, and he's done some amazing things. So for him to walk away from this, Mark, it was really kind of stunning. But my thought is, Hamas is viewed by most of us as being terrorists. They have the Gaza Strip. Who really wants the Gaza Strip? Let them have the Gaza Strip. And talk to Abbas and say, let's get serious about this. Let's do Palestine and let's do Israel. You agree to a Palestinian state. You agree to an Israeli state. You agree to Israel's right to have a Jewish state, a sovereign state. And let's get down and talk Turkey.
Right.
Israel
I don't think it's going to happen. And
ever?
Not with the current radicalism that we see in that region of the world.
By who?
By those who are supporting a Palestinian state, for instance.
What do you mean?
Not just Syria. Most our friends in Pakistan.
I think the other thing also that people wonder is who, if Israel also is not prepared to negotiate with the Palestinian Authority, then who brokers all of this?
Right.
And how does the Palestinians end up going along?
I think they are willing to negotiate with the Palestinian Authority as long as there's a certain precondition, and that is the acknowledgement of Israel's right to continue to exist.
But we covered that. We said that. Now, one of the other things that I know they have on their wish list, they have a long list of things that they have to agree to. Honest to goodness, one of the things they have is the no Palestinian Navy.
Okay.
And I said, okay, how about we do this? No boats on the Red Sea. Can we all agree on that?
Okay. Let's get to state politics and the inmate release. U.S. Supreme Court upholding a lower court order that could release as many as 46,000 inmates, and you're pulling out statistics. John, start us off with this one.
they're never really going to happen. And if anything did, they're all the non-offensive ones. And people who have done things to themselves. Most of the people that are incarcerated in this state are incarcerated because they are poor. They did not have proper defense. They did not have the right to spend money on serious counsel. And as a result, they found themselves in a position where they're away for dealing drugs, and they're dealing drugs because they wanted to use drugs, and that's the way they could afford drugs. And so I think what you're going to find are people that are pushed into the system. There happens to be, watch this number, Joseph, 4,555 people in jail tonight in San Diego County. Now, throughout the system, we actually have, believe it or not, people in the California penal system that are incarcerated in Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Michigan. I have it with me right here.
Joseph. I don't have a problem with that.
Why not?
Because those are offenders, and because of the overcrowded situation here, and because of the court order, those inmates that you refer to are being held out of state, are being held in private prisons under contract to the state of California. Here's the real issue as far as I'm concerned, Mark, and that is, it is really troubling that a court could order early release of prisoners in a state. This is something that, in the words of Justice Scalia, has never happened before in U.S. history. I think it's going much too far. If we are going to have a system of early release, it should be something that is done by the state and not by the federal government, dictated by the federal government. I mean, why do we have California Board of Parole if that's going to be usurped by a 3-judge panel operating in San Francisco?
Because you've got people that have died. 100 people have died because they didn't receive proper medical treatment.
And you have legal actions also, which are sort of...
Are we talking about incarcerating people, or are we talking about basically... You love constitutions. Your side loves constitutions. You always want judges that are constitutionally correct. And yet when it comes to upholding the Constitution, specifically the cruel and unusual punishment, that's what we're dealing with here. And that's what the Supreme Court came down
Well,
with.
the issue there is that the way to resolve this matter, by early release of prisons, or should we, prisoners or inmates before they serve out the full term, or should we figure out other ways to house that population to reduce our overcrowding? My suggestion is that we build more private prisons.
That is absolutely the one thing in the history of the world that we should never, ever, ever allow private enterprise. Let me tell you why, if I may. A private enterprise is there to make profits. The way you make profits in a prison is your inventory. Your inventory and your product is a prisoner. You're not about to release them. The more you release them, the more you lose profit opportunity. So the more prisoners you have, the more opportunity to make profit.
Just a minute. Determine when they get released.
Just a minute.
That's the state's decision.
No, listen, and you're also trying to make profit, which means you serve them lower quality food, give them less medical care, do their laundry less, you make more money, you cut expenses. Maintaining a prisoner, that's an expense. The way you can reduce expenses is to make profit.
Last word on this.
The reason that they are able to accommodate prisoners for less than what the state pays to run its prisons is because they're not paying their prison guards gold-plated salaries and compensation that's higher than any other state in the country. That's how they can get away
it's hard to believe that you two go and drink together after this particular broadcast. However,
maybe we need to, huh?
Before we finish with all of this, your reaction on a protocol situation. President Barack Obama has been in the UK, and he essentially got into a bit of a protocol issue at a state dinner at Buckingham Palace, where there was a bit of a glitch when he toasted Queen Elizabeth. Here that is. Okay, essentially, I guess we're not going to see it, but basically, while they were playing it, he interrupts God Save the Queen and starts to make a toast before she kind of like looks at him and sort of blows him off. He usually does pretty okay with this, but I guess a protocol director may be in trouble for something like this.
I would think so. As the Queen might say, we are not amused.
Well, he's not used to hanging around queens unless it's Lindsey Graham.
I think he was just taken aback by seeing Pippa there.
Jon Elliott and Joseph Perkens, nice to see you all. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Catherine.
What is with men and Pippa? All right, thanks, guys.